Good evening and welcome to our third experiment with an experimental intermedia salon. So tonight we have the great pleasure of having directly from Barcelona, Barbara Held, presenting a collaborative piece with Richard Garet, who unfortunately I know a lot of people wanted to see him in person, but he's in Florida and just got back from the West Coast. But we will have him in person in real time via Zoom at the end for the discussion. So I hope you're enjoying our salons, which are a little bit different from the concerts. And I'm happy to bring you Barbara Held, who has maybe a few words to say to introduce the piece. And then after the piece, we'll have a Q&A. So, Barbara.
Thank you. Thank you, and thank you everybody for coming. This is a piece that Richard and I made at a distance. I was in Barcelona and he was in Florida, and now we're presenting it at a distance. And we've never been able to show the whole piece. So today it's a great pleasure for me to be able to share it with you and to talk to Richard. I'm not a person who's very comfortable talking, but there were a few things that I just wanted to say before we show the piece called 9 Movements. And it was a piece that we originally made a durational plan. We decided on the lengths of the pieces, and I made the sound, and then Richard made the images. But when we were getting ready for this presentation, I asked Richard to send me some information about his process in making the piece, and he wrote the most beautiful text, and it was almost like getting an old-fashioned letter. It was so beautifully written, and ever since we had worked together on this piece, we hadn't talked again about the way that we had made it together and about the collaboration itself. So I hope that when we have a little bit of a discussion or a conversation afterwards with Richard, that we'll be able to talk about the process of the collaboration, because what I discovered from this letter that Richard sent me, that there were several things that he said that were so important that for both of us, but I didn't realize that he had been thinking that way. And I have his words because I think it's so beautifully written. But one of the things that Richard said about his process of working with image is that normally he goes toward abstraction. We all are familiar with his work with the colors and the light in the abstraction. But he says that when he collaboration itself is like a gift, that it gives him great freedom. And I've always felt that way too, that especially collaborating with moving image has been the most liberating and the most freeing thing that has happened to me as a musician. And Richard said that that even though when he collaborates with other artists, it allows him to go to more recognizable images and moments that of images that he had collected over time, and things that are sort of on the edge of or the margins of attention. Another thing that we both had in common in this process is that we each did our part of the piece as a performance. I had been, because I am familiar with Richard's images and the intensity and the pulsation, there's always this amazing energy pulsing behind his images. I started to work with experimenting with the flute, modulating some synthesized, very pure sounds, because I wanted to to contrast or to combine the flute is a very pure sound, but it's also breathy and sort of human. And I wanted the really, really pure frequencies to be part of this piece. So I was experimenting with controlling all of the sound with a patch that was a spatial patch, so that I was actually mixing the sound in the space. So it was not such an intentional mixing of the different sounds. Some of them are nature sounds. Yes. The sound is working on the streaming. That's good to hear. And Richard also, starting from images that were these video images that he had been collecting and saving over time, he actually performed the modification of the images. So we were both working in the same way, very far away, and we didn't realize it. So I think we should play the piece first, as soon as we work out a little bit of the details of the streaming. Are we ready? Yes, and Richard will be talking to us later after we watch the piece. So 9 movements.
Okay, Deputy, can I have the yes. And we hope everything goes smoothly, because we've been having trouble with the internet today. And we've been told it could be because we're at war, because there's certain websites and servers that are suddenly not working. And so we hope that, I mean, the screening you'll get no problem, but for example, communicating over Zoom, who knows what's going to happen in an hour. So please bear with us. We already had trouble Saturday, so. So now give us a few minutes to reset up the Zoom and keep our fingers crossed that everything works, because as you saw that little Zoom window that popped up, it means that the internet disconnected and reconnected, which is, I think, the continuation of this problem, which might be the war with Iran. We don't know. So give us a few minutes, and as soon as we're ready, we will continue with the show and tell with Barbara Held here in person and Richard Garet in Florida. He's like north of North Miami. Where is it, Barbara?
I'm not sure.
No. I think it's like I think it's between like Miami and Fort Lauderdale. Mia, I think it's between Miami and Fort Lauderdale. So.
We started out to make sure.
Yeah, trying to figure out how to play my background.
Hi, Richard. Thanks.
Oh, sorry.
He can't see you. No, he can't see.
Oh yeah, yeah. So now we proceed with our Q&A part, and maybe we'll let them talk a little bit about their piece. And excuse me, and if anyone has any questions in the room, I'll pass the microphone to anyone who has a question.
Are we going to move the computer so he can see?
No, later.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
But hey, congratulations! A really, really beautiful piece.
Thanks. Thank you, Richard.
Can you hear us?
Yeah, we do.
Can we hear him? Are we
So I
hearing
don't know.
Richard?
One of you can start. I'm gone. David,
Oh, yeah.
one of you can start talking about the piece. What you tried to say, what's it all mean?
What's your motivation?
What does it all mean, Richard?
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
Well, in this case, I think the sound and the image integration proposes its own meaning, in a sense that one work not only accompanies the other, but collectively they construct their own meaning. The way I always felt about this work, this kind of work that is non-narrative or doesn't find any sort of like a storyline, is that both the creators and the spectators, in a way, become protagonists. Together, we share the space. We collectively become experience of the work, and I think the meaning sort of like emerges out of that space. It's something that is more poetic and experiential rather than providing any specific intention or forcing any specific idea on the audience. I think ultimately whoever is in front of the work will construct their own version of what the work is about. They will use it as a mirror. They will reflect on their own experiences. They will find their own associations and unique messages in the work. And I think every time the work plays, it will construct a different kind of meaning. I don't know if that makes any sense.
You called it a shared field. I like that.
It's really it's very strange to talk to black screen without knowing who's on the other side.
You can at
Let's
least,
move the computer.
but yeah, can you put my mic back on? But as someone who's been doing like screen compositions for many years, 22nd year this year, and you've both been part of it more than once, and who was really interested in this collaboration between sound and music and moving image, film, or video. What I'm most interested in is when like 1 + 1 = more than 2, and I feel that this work really achieves that. It's like it's really 1 + 1 = more than 2, way more than 2. So congratulations.
Thank you, Kathy.
Sorry, I have a question.
Good.
Oh yeah, here.
It's clearly, the imagery, anyway, Richard's part was definitely all about moving things, about means of transportation, whether they be largely boats, I would say. And I wondered if you used that in that collection of that interest in any of your other work. Boats, moving.
That's a question for you, Richard, about the boats.
Something interesting is happening here too, because within my own work, I consider this type of work more experimental. Within the collaboration setting, I find more permission in exploring things that normally I will not explore. My own solo work tends to be more abstract and more retinal. And this kind of work suggests more like a dreamy cinematic experience. And these are a collection of captures and images that I have grabbed from going on different travels or navigating the Caribbean or going on an airplane and shooting out of the window. Things that, sometimes I'm on vacation, but I'm always working. I'm always capturing things, filming things without knowing what I'm going to do with them. And then an opportunity to collaborate comes. And then I go, okay, what can I possibly use? And then I start going through my archives and I select different footages. So, but then based on what we might be doing, I decide to experiment with them and I use live video making tools to grab the footage and then interact with it while I'm listening to the sound work or something is more organic. It's not like I grab the footage and I go to Premiere or Final Cut and all of a sudden I start to edit and try to compose something in a more like linear, fragmented approach. In this case, I use real-time interacting tools to manipulate the image, and then I use video gaming recording tools to capture live in real time. So then it becomes like a live and organic process in which I play with the footage, I interact, and it's never really saved or finished. I turn it on and it's alive, and I manipulate it, and I get different outcomes, and then I record to tape, and the final recordings become truly durational. It's almost like an improvisation and a manipulation of the footage, while I am also taking in consideration the sound component. In this case, Barbara's compositions. So there was a lot of that in the making of these pieces. Each piece became a project of its own that I interacted with until I figure I got something, and then I captured to tape. So it's that organic. It isn't really fully composed in a video editing tool like Final Cut or Premiere.
Yeah, how about Barbara, you, because when we communicated before, or when I was inviting you, you said you had quite a lot to say about how you did the sound. So,
well, I was just going to say something about the transportation, the vehicles
Yeah.
that Mimi was mentioning. Normally in your work, in your more abstract work, there's so much pulsation and rhythm and activity, but this kind of open, looking out over the sea and moving through spaces, and that for me is what's really different about these particular images, like this kind of freedom of being in spaces, and the airplane and the boats, and moving through some place that you notice. No, about the sound, I was, in the context of the last presentation in your series of such experts in synthesizers, I'm using the synthesizers in such a simple way, but more than anything, what I was trying to do, I was controlling as much as possible with the flute. I was controlling the mixing. The patch that I was using was mixing the different sounds, mixing the flute, and also going into the synthesizer, modulating the synthesizer. So that was my intention in.
but yeah, you said you used this teeny tiny new, is it
Yes.
a MOOG
Yeah,
synthesizer?
a very small Moog synthesizer, but looking for the adding some harmonics, adding that intensity into the flute sound, and contrasting it with the kind of breathiness of the flute.
Another question. So who saw or heard the others' work first? Or did you just do totally by time and it was a total surprise?
Richard asked,
or was it a Cunningham cage? Put them together and see what it gives.
Well, no, I think Barbara and we already know each other for a long time, and we get a sense of each other's works. But I remember hearing different iterations of what Barbara's work ended up becoming, and using that as an essence already. I had a sense of her work, and then she would tell me some stuff, and I would listen to it, and then I would send her some ideas, and then that ended up not being what the footage became. And with Barbara's work, she will later on sell me something else that already changed. So it wasn't really fixed in terms of like knowing what each other's work was at the time, but there was an understanding in terms of like an atmosphere of the work, an essence of the work, and a sense of already aesthetics and sensibility in certain sense. So with that in mind, rhythm and mood and energy kind of like took shape on its own. And then, there was a lot of trust in the process, for what I can remember. There was never a preoccupation in terms of like, oh, what I do has to fit here and there. The only cueing thing that happened was that, there were some, if I remember correctly, Barbara, please let me know otherwise, was that there were more fixed, the duration of Barbara pieces were already completed, and my takes maybe exceeded here and there, and I have to like make it match the duration of the sound, and then eventually that became the piece. But we were playing with this notion of oh, this movement will be about this much or that much, if I remember correctly, and then it was more about like fixing the times from beginning to an end versus trying to synchronize things or compose one to with image to the sound or with sound to the image.
Yeah, we both.
That's what I remember, but Barbara might correct me if I'm wrong.
No, but we both had the structure that we made in the beginning was always present. I mean, it was what brought both of the parts together in a way.
So wondering if the audience has any questions for either Richard.
I still have
Or-
a question.
Oh, okay.
Maybe you want to go before I go on question. You have a question, or you have a long question?
Mine is simple.
No, I have a short question.
You have a short question?
So why 9 movement? It wasn't 5 or maybe 4, basically like 4 movement and sometimes 1 movement. 9 come from just by chance, or maybe you are really, because I have known 9 evenings, engineer theaters.
That's true.
So so then I said, you said
Yeah.
9 movement, and then I
Yeah.
sort of, I got very confused. But my question, very short, Mimi, is why it's a 9?
That wasn't a reference to the nine evenings in this case. It was not, and we didn't have that in mind as no, that wasn't a reference. But I don't remember. I think just because we chose some short times, and it had to be that length. I don't remember, Richard. We started off with an idea of making really, really short things, and it ended up having this longer duration. That changed over time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, it was, I think, consequential. It wasn't a decision. We didn't say, oh, we're going to make 9 pieces. I think, like Barbara said, we had this idea of making these short compositions. And then with some idea of maybe jump cuts, something that will be structural, fragmented, and then jump from piece to piece. And then at some point we said, no, each piece should be individual. And then, but we can put them all together in sequence. And then somehow we had to call it something. And at some point, one of us said 9 movements because we needed some sort of reference to call it something. And then the other said, I kind of like it like that. I kind of like that title. And then we're like, okay, let's call it 9 movements. And then, so even in the way things took form, I thought it was pretty organic and spontaneous. It's sort of like, everything fall in place naturally.
yes, but in your sequencing, I have to say how intentional, it must have been intentional, that there were twice very short transitions, pauses between the pieces. That must have been intentional.
Well, that was composed too, because at a certain point, Barbara wanted or needed to have those moments in the transition more than I did, for example. I think for me it was more flexible, but for Barbara it was more significant to establish those durational gaps in between the pieces. Maybe Barbara can talk about that a little bit more.
Yeah, well, I didn't totally follow the plan because music never does, and sometimes you need more time. So that the original idea was that the pieces were back to back, certain lengths, but I didn't.
That's not what happened.
No, that wasn't always what happened. Yeah.
Well, there were twice,
Uh-huh.
two places where they were very
Yes.
close back to back.
Yes.
Right.
And I think also that if we had been working in the same room, we might have smoothed out some of the transitions and a little better. We were doing that over Zoom, but
Do we have any more questions from the floor or comments? Both are welcome. Nobody. So how about Barbara and Richard? Do you want to say anything more?
Richard, I keep looking at your image on the screen as if you can see me, but I know you can.
Well, I just gotta say thank you, and I wish I could be there. I'm sure that it was fantastic to be there in that room during that presentation. Just want to thank Catherine and the whole audience.
Yeah, I'm just turning on the light so you could see us. We're all here, all your fan club, and Barbara's too.
Yeah.
But Barbara, we can hang out with after, but not with you. So.
Hi, Richard.
I see so many familiar faces.
Yeah. Elan is here. In the back hiding. And other people, yeah, Elan is a surprise. So
That's wonderful. Yeah, no.
So next time you'll come in person. We hope. So many people hope. But yeah, I'm really glad that you didn't have you hadn't planned to come because I don't know, LaGuardia and etc. It's a nightmare right now. So even if you had planned to come, you might not have made it. So.
Yeah, well, thank you again, everybody, and I'm glad that the piece was presented. Barbara and I worked really hard on this, and I think this might be it hasn't been shown completely until now, right, Barbara?
Yeah, it's the first time.
Yay!
It's a
in
world
a way,
premiere.
So thank you, everybody.
So thank you, Barbara and Richard. And this is our last experimental Intermedia Salon. And then tomorrow and Wednesday, we have 2 screenings, more like our more classical screenings. So both at Emily Harvey Foundation. And tomorrow is a documentary about Arlene Schloss by Stuart Ginsburg that he worked on for a long time. And Wednesday is Anton Parrish, who's going to show films like back from the, Joe's Kansas City, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, we hope, what? So we hope you come. That'll also be at 7:00 at Emily Harvey Foundation. And a huge, 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 huge thank you to various artists who we love. Thank you, thank you, thank you to have us in this warm, cozy, and convivial space. So We hope you continue coming.
Thanks, Catherine. Thanks, Davide.
Yes, thank you. Huge thank you to Davide. Don't forget Davide.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, thank you.
Somebody driving who wasn't usually driving that. Oh, the road is amazing. There's a cicada that appeared. There was one cicada on my porch for 2 nights. He just sang by himself. No, I don't want to 6 days a week.
Oh, nice to see you.
Nice to see you too.
Bye-bye.
See you soon. Yeah.
Hi, David.
How you doing?
It's just, I don't call a lot of people.
Going over the
Nice job. I know. I'm sorry.
Bye.
Bye. No, I just took some carry out from a place that I read about on Grand Street.